Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're jumping right into something that sounds almost like sci-fi, but it's actually sitting right in your kitchen cabinet. We're unpacking this fascinating molecular mystery of how a totally common household beverage, matcha green tea, acts as a targeted molecular detective to literally dismantle cancer's life support systems. Seriously, if you've ever sipped a warm, vibrant cup of matcha, you might have actually been ingesting one of the most complex, multitasking natural medicines on Earth.
Okay, let's dive into this. 13. That is how many times more antioxidants green tea, and specifically matcha, contains compared to recognized superfoods like blueberries or pomegranates. We're not just talking about a marginal difference in quality here. It's an absolute powerhouse of bioactive compounds, packed incredibly tightly into every single leaf. When you drink it, you are getting a highly concentrated dose of cellular defense.
Which naturally brings us to a pretty fascinating question, right? Can this ancient, simple drink actually target and destroy modern hyper-complex malignancies? Honestly, it sounds almost too simple to be true. But the clinical data we're about to look at tells a really sophisticated story of cellular warfare, one that modern science is just now beginning to fully understand.
Just to ground ourselves in history for a second, the practice of drinking green tea goes back over a millennium to the Tang Dynasty in China. For centuries, ancient cultures relied on it for general vitality. But today, well, modern precision oncology is finally catching up. We aren't just observing its protective effects anymore. We are literally looking through high-powered microscopes to map out the exact chemical mechanisms that make it so formidable. Section 1, the power of matcha. So meet the star of the show. It's a molecule known as ECGC. ECGC is this highly active plant compound, or polyphenol, and it makes up over 40% of the total catechins found in fresh green tea leaves. Instead of just thinking of it as a nice nutrient, think of ECGC as the master key to this whole biological process. It is the main engine driving green tea's extensive anti-cancer effects. Section 2. Starving the cancer cell. So how does it work? ECGC essentially acts as a saboteur. It mounts this highly coordinated, multi-pronged attack on a tumor's ability to survive. The crucial point here is this three-step blockade. First, it triggers apoptosis. Think of this as programmed cellular suicide. ECGC basically flips a switch that forces the cancer cell to destroy itself. Second, it blocks angiogenesis, which cuts off the tumor's supply lines so it can't build new blood vessels to feed itself. And third, it shuts down an enzyme called GDH, completely suffocating the cancer's backup fuel supply.
And this creates an absolutely incredible paradox within your body. On one hand, EGCG is acting as a lethal, targeted weapon against cancer, exploiting the unique vulnerabilities of a tumor to destroy it. But on the other hand, at the exact same time, it's acting as a protective shield for your healthy tissue. It defends your normal DNA from oxidative damage, leaving your healthy biological terrain totally intact while it goes to war with the malignancy.
Section 3. Eliminating cancer stem cells. Now, this quote isolates a massive scientific breakthrough. To really understand why this matters, you have to think of a tumor like a weed in your garden. Conventional treatments often just mow the lawn, right? They take off the top of the weed but leave the root entirely intact. Well, cancer stem cells are those roots. They are the hidden, resilient cells responsible for disease relapse. Matcha directly targets the mitochondria, the engine of these specific root cells, shutting down their ability to survive, propagate, and grow back. Section 4. Rebooting immune defenses. Beyond those direct attacks, EGCG fundamentally alters the cancer's surrounding microenvironment. It's an incredible ally to your immune system. As you can see, catechins aggressively suppress multiple inflammatory pathways that normally fuel cancer growth. But hey, rather than getting bogged down in this alphabet soup of specific proteins and enzymes like NF-kappa B and COX-2, the main takeaway is just this. Chronic inflammation is the fertile soil that tumors need to thrive. By shutting down these pathways, EGCG effectively removes the fuel from the fire. And it actually goes a step further. By inhibiting specific enzymes, EGCG literally acts as an epigenetic modulator. It reboots your DNA's natural tumor suppressors and stimulates your natural killer cells. It basically turns invisible, hidden cold tumors into highly visible hot targets. It strips the cancer of its invisibility cloak, which allows your body's own T cells to finally recognize, hunt down, and attack it. Section 5. Clinical results and synergies. Let's zoom out from the microscope for a minute and look at how this microscopic sabotage translates to human longevity. A landmark year 2000 study in Japan found that high consumption of green tea delayed the average age of cancer onset by an incredible 7.3 years. Just let the magnitude of that demographic data sink in. A simple, daily, dietary habit extending cancer-free life by over 7 years across an entire population, that is huge. Then there's this, 50%. In patients with chronic lymphocytic leukemia, 92% of those experiencing lymph node swelling saw at least a 50% reduction when they were given varying doses of ECGC. This is so crucial because we aren't just talking about theory in a petri dish anymore. These are measurable, profound physical reductions of disease occurring in living human patients, all in response to a plant compound. Furthermore, clinical trials show ECGC drastically reduced prostate cancer progression in high-risk patients. Taking 600 milligrams a day of green tea catechins reduced the risk of prostate cancer from 30% all the way down to just 3% in men with high-grade precancerous lesions. And what makes this even more remarkable is its dual action alongside conventional treatments. ECGC acts as a sensitizer that enhances chemotherapies. It actively boosts a cancer drug's lethality against tumors, while simultaneously buffering and protecting your healthy tissue from the drug's toxicity.
Section 6. Practical dosing and cautions. Okay, so how do we apply all this molecular detective work to our everyday reality? Here are your practical takeaways to make sure you're doing this safely. You want to aim for 500 to 1,000 milligrams of catechins daily. And listen to this part. Always take it with food, never on an empty stomach, just to avoid any liver irritation. Remember that matcha is superior to regular green tea because you're consuming the entire ground leaf, which gives you maximum nutrients. And crucially, be very wary of commercial bottled teas. Their active catechin levels can vary wildly, from 215 milligrams all the way down to a totally useless 1 single milligram. So, I want to leave you with this final thought to consider. As we continue to uncover the exact metabolic mechanisms of these natural compounds, how will they rewrite the future of cancer treatment? Could the key to dismantling our most complex and devastating diseases really be quietly waiting in a 1,000-year-old cup of tea? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Catch you next time.